you can do it in there.
I've been having trouble with my internet all day, and it's supposedly fiber optic.
Welcome, everybody. Monday night, Let's Grow Polling. Jason Schultz, Larry Richwine, Cody Vanderholm. I don't know if Big Rye or Charles is jumping on. Oh, there's Big Rye right there coming on. Leroy is at the DeCoin State Fair in Illinois. He might come on tonight during the Pro Stock class. And then Ryan Zoic might come on as well to talk about Midwest Winter Nationals a little bit. So don't have any guests lined up for tonight. We're going to kind of wing it. I got some Coltrane Energy hats. If you guys have some good trivia questions, Larry, I asked you, Ryan, if you got any good trivia questions, or Cody, we can do that and give away a couple Coltrane Energy hats. So is Jeff hurt in England right now?
Yes.
Who's he hanging out with over there, guys?
He and Kevin went over this weekend for a show in Doncaster or somewhere. I presume it has, they were going to be to support the guy who Kevin sold, what was the name of his tractor? Was it Heavy Metal or something?
Controlled Chaos?
Controlled Chaos, yeah.
Controlled Chaos, yeah.
Because that went across the pond, and I think that went to England.
I think so.
Don Spores checking in from Neenah, Wisconsin. Mr. Pulltown Nut, he's checking in from Bowling Green.
Is he sobered up yet?
Yeah.
I bet he still has a headache.
When does your check liver light come on after in Bowling Green?
Well, it's not when it comes on, it's when it starts flashing. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And then you go into limp mode, literally.
Correct. Yes.
Larry, let's see here. Okay, White Schulte knows. Great. I can't even say that word.
Eccleston,
England, to support Peter Clark. Mr. Pulltown Nut, Larry, can we get a good evening, Beer Money fans, and welcome to After Dark? Wow, we just got started, Larry. Are we gonna go straight there tonight? So
I don't know. I mean, I guess the first trivia question could be, what movie did the Good Morning Campers come from?
Okay, so whoever types the correct answer into the comments gets the Coltrane Energy hat. I got let's see here. Unless Ryan wants to claim one, or Cody, I got this one to give away. And I got a pink one, 2 pink ones, and then a patch one. Ryan or Cody, if you want one, claim one now. So
nope, give them away there for the fans.
Yep.
That white hat would really look good on me in about 2 seconds. Not. Yeah. But no, the very opening scene of a movie, I believe in the 80s, was Good Morning Campers. So what movie was that?
Is it Heavyweights?
No.
Okay. That was Adam Wilson. Mr. Pulltown Nut says Porksy.
No, it's not Porky's.
Talking Porky's, yeah.
Oh, he said, oops, bad spelling. So,
yeah.
That would be, oh, God. No, anyway, no. It's not Porky's.
Yeah, so tonight's gonna be just a fun question and answer. Ask your questions. We're gonna give some stuff away. I wrote some stuff down I want to talk about. Colin Ross not only can drive diesel super stocks well, he can drive pro stocks well. Madison, South Dakota has the best lights I've ever seen. Ryan and Cody would have been freaking geeking out with their little button pushing thing. It was awesome. Mark Ham was there taking photos. I've never 43 grand for those lights, Bruce, is what they said that cost. But it was the LED that you like or whatever, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty neat. It was pretty neat to see all that. So meatballs, Robert Dimmitt.
Yep, correct. Meatballs.
Attaboy, Ralphie.
So Robert, is that Ralphie?
Mm-hmm.
That's my antique guy, Ralphie.
That's Ralphie, the antique guy.
Okay, Ralphie, do you want to?
Dear friend.
He's a good dude. Ralphie, do you want a pink one? You want a white one? You want the black one with the hat or the patch there? Got a black one there, and type it in the comments, and then you don't have to give me your address over the air.
What I want to know is, did he know that, or did he Google it like the rest of everybody else was?
Oh,
And there's this one, too.
Ralphie's a pop culture fan.
Hey,
Okay.
You have Ralphie's cell phone number, right, Bruce?
Yep.
So have him get his address from him and the hat, and I'll put it in the mail. Okay.
Yep, that's fine.
Thank you. Mark Ham's checking. Seriously, guys, this is going to be what's the word I'm looking for, guys? A free for all kind of a show. We're talking
a cruise show.
A what?
A cruise show.
A cruise show. A cruise show. I was at the Nebraska State Fair at 10:30 last night. I got home at 10 o'clock this morning. Ryan, I did not call you because I went through Des Moines at 4 a.m. and I didn't figure you'd appreciate that.
I have a
I
question.
would not have answered my phone.
Larry?
Did your Tesla drive you home? Oh,
No, it was the Outlaw Motorhome drove me home. So
okay.
Kenzie and she drove until Des Moines and I took it the rest of the way.
Now, do you want a tractor pulling trivia question?
Well, well, no, Ryan's taking care of Ralphie, so we're good to go. There. Mark Ham, tell us about those lights, Mark. Tell Cody and Ryan how good the lights were in Madison, South Dakota. Don Spore says Groundhog Day. Mr. Pulltown Nut says Ernest goes to camp. Colin Berthold says Groundhog Day. I will do a tractor pulling or a truck pulling question next. So what do you got, Larry?
You want it now?
Let me see here. Let's talk about shides. What do we know about shides? What I saw on the internet is that Tori Slama won Friday night at Super Farm. That's a big deal.
Right.
And then she had a really rough ride Saturday night. Kind of got the wheels turned there, but we on the Badger State show, they said the track was pulling them left. If you just joined us, welcome to Let's Grow Pulling. We're about 10 minutes into hour number 1. And we're just having a cruise show tonight, talking questions, giving away some Coltrane Energy hats. Full pull was in Madison, South Dakota, and the Nebraska State Fair. Russ Dostal's wife won this weekend, so that's pretty cool. I think probably the light super stock ag would be my guess. I think from the Nebraska State Fair.
I hope he's not still standing by the mailbox because I forgot till his name just popped up. I promised to send him a couple T-shirts. Oh my goodness, yeah, that's your super.
He probably
fan,
brought a
there?
lawn chair.
Yeah, he probably did.
I don't think he had a chair, Bruce. I can't remember. I feel like he might have. Because I walked by him a couple times, chatted with him. Adam Wilson, lighting his money well spent. Adam, you went down to Shides. I'm pretty sure Wilson was there. Wasn't Bill Diesel there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mark J. Ham says those lights are amaze balls. We can do trivia every week. Larry could come up with a couple questions every week. I can give away beer money stickers and whatever. We could have companies send us gifts, swag. We'll have some fun with it. So, okay, black with red, no bill. Black with red, heck. What's that say, Cody?
Black with red, heck no bit. I don't understand that.
Black with red letters, I think.
Oh, that's what he wants. Okay.
Oh, this one, Ralphie? You think
Yeah.
that's the one, Cody?
I think so, because there's another comment that says black with red letters.
Yep, that's it. Okay, this is the black. So this is Robert's, Ralphie's. He's the Kevin Masterson social media manager. So that's going to a good home. I'm gonna put a sticky note on there right now, so I don't screw that up. Ryan will give me his digits.
Yep.
But Shides looked like it was great as always. We're going to be down there, Beer Money Pulling Team, for Wagler in September. We're actually going to live stream that on beermoneypulling.tv, so I'm excited for that. We haven't made that announcement until right now, so that's good to go down there in Lyons, Indiana. I think they pull one night, and I think maybe we're going to film drag racing the other day. I got to get with Doug and all that to find out. So that hat is set off to the side. Ross drove Shelton's new Pro Stock and won Saturday night, and I think Brad Moss drove Peter Norton's Pro Stock and won Friday night. Can you guys confirm?
Yep. Correct.
Josh Miley would have won Champions Tour Super Farm points. I think that was wrapped up.
Yeah.
Jeff Poppelman, Groundhog Day. Nope. We already got the winner. It was Meatballs. Brad Surgeon, good evening, Kentucky gentlemen. Bradley does a great job on social media. Thank you. Yes, Chuck Fowler. Colin Ross drove Shelton's Pro Stock and he won. Looks like Andy Leonard's watching on YouTube. Looks like Shelton's Pro Stock is all tuned up and ready. Oh, I think it was built at a very, very good place.
I think Colin's sister Lily drove something, didn't she? Did she drive her husband's four-wheel drive?
I think she got second and he got first. I think I saw a picture on his Facebook page or her Facebook page.
Yeah.
Scheid was good. Can't get enough of Shelton's 1206. Now that's Cody Shea's chassis, right, Bruce?
Yeah.
Correct.
Good. Good to see that tractor make 3 good passes. Colin can certainly most drive a Pro Stock. I think Colin Ross can drive freaking anything. The guy's a stud. The guy is a stud. Larry, what's the biggest story? It doesn't have to be NTPA. I mean, I know that's the world you come from and know the best, but like, what's been the biggest story for you in pulling this year? Like with rules or classes or, wow, that puller came out of nowhere. Like, it doesn't have to be the top one. What's your top storylines? Roos, Cody, do you have anything? I'm gonna get that picture.
My favorite, and of course I've said for a couple of years that the Pro Stock class of NTPA is the closest competition of any class other than maybe the mini rods, as far as just you never know who's going to win or dominate. There's no dominant person. But I think my storyline there you go. That's the picture I was referring to. But was the fact that Masterson come to play NTPA again and is doing so well. I mean, his dad and him both, cut their teeth on state level and pulling all along the Ohio River. And between having like Wayne Sullivan and Don Masterson there, I mean, those were the 2 elders of the group,
Yep.
And the fact that Kevin come and played NTPA as much as he has, I think was impressive, and just goes to show that no matter what group you pull with, the Pro Stock class is a very, very competitive. The water is so deep, you got to swim pretty good to even stay in the top 5.
When he rolled into Cola, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was one of them deals that, like I say, to me that was the big story. It was a shame the other day they rained out Wellington. I mean, no discount to the fact that Adam Bauer probably would have won the unlimited mod anyway, but there was one more hook there they could have ran that didn't get run. Wellington got rained out a couple of days ahead. I guess they had like 6 inches of rain, and the whole fairgrounds was standing in water. So, I mean, it was a wise decision to do it that early, but I know somebody raised the question, why would they do that? Well, common sense once in a while enters into the equation,
And and all of us, am I breaking up a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, you're echoing real bad.
Huh. And I'm the one that's been having trouble with fiber optic all day. My internet's been cutting in and out. So if you lose me, yes, it'll be a blessing, but no, it won't be me leaving.
Well, we won't say it out loud for you. How's that?
We'll wait till you get kicked off and then say it.
Yeah. Yes, the fiber optic came down our road, and of course I hooked right onto it, not been such a good thing so far.
We've had fiber optic. Our local telephone company's been leading like the nation in fiber optics. So if they get one more town hooked on, and they'll be the first county in the nation to have fiber optics to all the residents in the county, and that'll be in the nation, not just like the state.
Wow.
And so if you plug in with a hard wire, you're about 250 meg down and up. So it's
Well, my laptop right now currently is plugged in with a hard wire because my I don't think it was my modem or anything here in the shop going in and out, but it sure was. Oh, it gave me fits all day, whether it was my phone or my laptop. So I just got out an Ethernet cable and plugged into the damn thing.
Yep.
I've got a trivia question.
Cool.
Hey, Larry, mute yourself for just a second. I want to see if something changes.
You want me to bump off?
No, just mute.
Mute?
Yep. Okay, so I didn't tell him how to unmute himself, so now we can have a nice conversation.
No.
So here's a trivia
I know
question.
how to unmute my.
Oh, shut up. Here's a trivia question. The same guy, or I'm trying to think how I want to phrase this. This is tractor history stuff. Who designed, did the styling for the white 155 or the white workhorse tractors in the early 70s? And what else did he design? Two-part question, and you got to tell me both. So drop the answer in the comments.
That's a tough one. I feel like I know the answer to this, but I'm not going to say.
I feel like you probably do too.
I feel like we've had this conversation about this because it was kind of a shocker.
Mm-hmm. Larry, do you know?
Well, I'd have to unmute myself.
Well,
I have a pretty good idea, but this is for somebody to win a hat, so
right.
That's a cop out for me. I have a pretty good idea. I believe I know who it is, but that don't mean I do.
And you also have a hat.
I already have a hat, yeah.
Right.
I think it's a Hoosier State hat, yeah.
There you go.
Well, the only reason I have it's because my lighting bad enough, but if I take my hat off, then it's blinding them even more.
That's true. Well, just, ease up on the turtle wax,
Well, if you buff it to a fine sheen, never mind.
I figured I figured that new ring light Jason got you.
Oh well, I'm waiting on the Goodwill store to get a ring light in. I told him, he showed me a picture of one, but I have not received it in the mail.
Well, I will tell you that you'll hate it because it will make your glasses look like you have two floating fluorescent rings in the center of them.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe I won't accept it when it comes in the mail.
There you go.
Maybe I'll put return to sender. Oh, look, there's our leader.
Am I still bad, guys, or is it better?
I actually
better-ish.
Larry, try muting yourself.
You'll always be bad, Jason.
I'm trying to check because did they change echo settings on any of these, Cody, at all?
I haven't really.
You're not echoing now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was hardwired. I switched over to Bluetooth, guys, or not to Bluetooth. Yeah, I got echo. I got my echo cancellation on.
Yeah, you sound fine now.
Okay. Larry, can you talk a little bit?
Maybe. I don't know what you want to talk about.
Okay.
Ryan wanted me to mute a while ago, and then he said he didn't tell me how to unmute, but I figured it
out. Did you do a trivia question, Roos?
Yeah, and to the best of my knowledge, well, I haven't seen any comments pop on the screen yet, but who's Shelby?
I'm not sure. I'm catching up on comments, guys.
Carol Shelby? I don't know. That's different. That's a different sport.
Ask the question again, Roos. Eric Pruitt wants you to ask.
Well, I can tell you that. Well, okay. So, who was the guy who styled the white Field Boss tractors, and what other thing did he style that is very iconic? Actually, he styled two things that were pretty iconic.
I'll wait for the pop up here.
Hey,
We're
shout
just
out to Dylan. Shout out to Dylan Dirks for a killer shot of Chuck's new Pro Stock. You should find that and pop that on the screen, Jason. That was a really nicely done shot.
Is that on Dylan's Facebook page, Ryan?
Uh-huh.
Again, we're just having a crew show tonight, everybody. It's Monday, it's August 28th. Asking questions, giving away Coltrane Energy hats. I could probably get something out of Chase too for football. If you guys need something, if we run out of hats, if we do a bunch of trivia. So let's see here. Dylan Dirks, right? And it was who's was it a truck or a tractor? What'd you say, bud?
It's Chuck Holsworth's new green 8R Pro Stock.
With the cool sun in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting pretty at the Half Century of Progress show. Yeah. Jerry's Weibauer says Connors. Ryan?
No. Sorry, Jerry. The question was, because Colin just texted me and asked as well, who styled the white Field Boss line of tractors in the early 70s, and what else did he style?
Larry, do you know?
Not really. I've got a good idea, but no.
Somebody's got part of it, but they haven't answered all the question yet.
Amanda Stern says Larry Shenandoah.
Shinoda.
Sorry. Shenandoah.
What else did he design?
So the first part's right, is what you're saying, right?
First part is correct.
Andy Leonard says Don Nolan and an Oliver.
Andy Leonard is wrong if he's trying to answer this particular.
Andy Gerbaugh says Kutzen worked for GM, then Ford.
Close.
Mr. Pulltown Nut says, was it one of the Chamberlains from Ohio?
Nope. half that question is there you go.
So
actually, if you want to give away two hats,
sure,
we could do one for the other answer. Wyatt gets one.
Okay, and Amanda Stern. Well, somebody said
if Amanda answers the other half of the question, what else did he style?
Gotcha. So who gets a hat?
Everybody furiously goes typing up the Interesting Iron blog because the answer is there because I wrote the article. But Wyatt is correct.
So Wyatt text me.
Everybody's Googling the heck out of it, right?
Wyatt, I have your address. I know where you live. Tell me which hat you want, Schulte. Got this one, camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4.
That is a good looking Pro Stock.
That is a beautiful Pro Stock. Cool shot. I'm getting Mustang a lot, Ryan.
You got to be more specific than the Mustang.
Wyatt says, I read the article. Bruce, give me the white one. Wyatt Schulte, you're getting the white one. Congratulations, Wyatt. Free hat from Coltrane Energy Drink.
Well, at least they didn't say Lee Iacocca.
No, Lee Iacocca actually got Larry Shinoda. Well, he didn't get him fired, but he quit after Lee Iacocca got Bunky Knudsen fired.
They were
like a month later
in the design field, weren't they?
Huh? Who?
Lee Iacocca and him were competitors
Lee
on the
Iacocca
design team, weren't they?
No, Lee Iacocca just never saw eye to eye with Bunky Knudsen. He thought he was kind of a jerk.
Ryan, Andy Leonard's up next. He says 302 Boss Mustang.
You're right.
Boom. All right, Andy. He beat Troy.
Some real good Googling.
He beat Troy by about a second. Troy drives Kurt. Paisley's truck. So, Andy's watching on YouTube. Andy, just email me, jason@beermoneypullingteam.com. What hat you like and your address. Ryan, you're going to give me Ralphie the Antique Guy's hat, right?
Yeah, I'll get you his address.
And then I know Schulte's, so it's all good there. What else? So we talked about Jeff Hurt being in England. We talked about Shides. We talked about Colin driving the wheels off the Pro Stock.
Colin's watching. Colin, you want to come on and talk about what it's like to drive a Pro Stock versus a diesel super?
I will send him the link right now. Colin, if you want to, Colin knows what to do. He's been on the show before.
What could go wrong?
Nothing. Larry, when we had
Larry,
what?
Talking about
when we
Shide,
had Larry, it feels safe.
while we're on the Shide comment, I'm pretty sure Maddie Graves got into the 3s at Shide.
Did she?
I saw a post.
I thought it was the other guy.
Oh, I took it as her, but
No, I think it was Justin someone or other, maybe.
Adam fact check since none of us were there, and they didn't have a live stream. There you go, Cordova. Yeah, I really wish they'd have a live stream for that.
They've tried on multiple occasions, but the internet gets so spotty out there. I mean, you've been out there, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Diesel World, Adam Blattenberg tried it one year, and
yeah, but you could
some other folks have tried it as well.
You could set up with a hardwire too. So
Hardwire to what? Plug into the corn stalks?
Adam, we're gonna try our Starlink down there, Adam. That's what our goal is. We've had good luck with that this year. I hope I didn't just jinx us, but that's it. We've been using Starlink. Adam, I'm gonna bring Adam on the show. Adam, I'm gonna send you a link right now. I sent one to Colin Ross as well. Adam thinks Starlink. I hope it is, Adam, because that's what we've been using all summer. There's been a couple shady spots on the Outlaw circuit that have had internet in the past, and we were able to get a show out. So.
Hi, I'm Anna McNaught.
What?
it's a pop-up deal
Oh, okay.
on multi.
I want to know what Adam's talking about. Starkink.
He typed fast.
Spelling is important, buddy.
Starkink, is that owned by Pornhub or
Never
RedTube
mind.
or what?
Never mind.
Oh,
Moving
I'm
on,
sorry.
Me and my big mouth.
Oh,
Well,
really?
You said Starkink.
Yeah, Starlink. You know what I meant. But we've had good luck with that this year. I don't want to jinx it, but it's saved our butt at quite a few places for Outlaw TV. Cell service was horrible in Madison. I agree. It was hard to get stuff out, but the Starlink worked for us there. Scrappy hurt their turbo at Wisner. That's what happened to Scrappy, his top charger.
Yeah, it's been like this. Not
Yep. Okay, Larry. Mr.
What?
Full Town Nut. Larry, I don't know if this has ever happened, but has anyone won 2 rings at Bowling Green the same year in 2 different classes, trucks or tractors?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. If Andy
Not the same
Gerbaugh's
year.
watching, we got another. Andy, why don't you come up with a good trivia question? Andy's full of good stuff like that.
I've got a good pulling trivia question.
Tyler Slaw says, Dennis Bauer?
Well, Tyler, you might be right. Adam may have won it in the mod class, and yeah, Tyler may be right. He might have won 2 rings the same year, but I can't confirm that. A good pulling question is
he would be one of the only ones.
Yeah. Who had the very first turbine tractor in tractor pulling?
This is for a Coltrane Energy hat, everybody. Who had the first?
And it's not who you'd think it was.
Say it again.
The very first turbine tractor that was built and competed It was in 1973,
Bob Bussey.
and it's not. Nope. Nope.
Didn't we have him on the show?
The guy that had
Probably
the
not.
first one? I don't think so.
Tyler Slaw. I think he's trying to say Arfons.
No, Arfons actually helped him build it, and Arfons' first tractor was in 1974. But this tractor, Arfons helped him build it, and it came out in 1973.
So Carter's polling picks is saying Don Dean question or Wayne Lewis's old
No,
tractor.
No, Don Dean hadn't even started pulling back then. He was
Tyler
still
Slaw
racing,
says
drag
E.J.
racing with
Potter.
turbochargers.
Tyler Slaw says EJ Potter.
No, EJ never run a turbine.
Mr. Pulltown Nut says Gardner Stone.
Nope.
Colin Burkholt says Bob Frock.
Ah, that's the Bob Frock. He just Googled it, but Bob Frock. Art Arfons helped Bob Frock build the first turbine. And then Art said that wasn't so hard, and he built himself one.
Colin,
But that is correct. Bob Frock came out in 73.
Colin, I know your address because you have an awesome mortgage lender, and just tell me which hat you want there, buddy. So, yeah, I got pink one. I got this one. I got this one. Damn right, I Googled it. Colin says
That a boy.
And when Art Arfons come out in 74 with his tractor, his very first hook was where? He won it. He won the 7,000 pound class, but where was Art Arfons' Green Monster very first hook ever? That's the second trivia question. Where was that? What location?
Andy Gerbaugh, this feels tailor-made for you. You were probably there and helped him roll it to the starting line. Come on, Rich Wine. You know I'm right.
Jeremy Yenti says Ohio State Fair.
Nope.
Nope.
You say in Ohio. You're correct.
Colin. Morgan Schulte says Xenia, Ohio.
Nope.
Nope. I was going to save on shipping for a hat there if the Schulte boys swept that. Colin,
Very
which
first
leather
hook for the Green Monster?
Colin, which leather patch one? The black one or the tan one? Colin, let me know. Andy Leonard's. Oh, let's see here. Bowling Green.
Yes.
Okay. Matt
Bowling
Carter.
Green. Arfons debuted the Green Monster and won the 7,000 mod class. And everybody started buzzing about, those dang turbines.
Nice. Matt, send me.
He Googled that. He Googled that too.
Colin.
Larry,
Colin
what would have been
tan one.
what would have been the majority of the competition there? Would have been single engine wedge head, naturally aspirated on race gas or alcohol, or would we have gone to no one had a Hemi by then?
Well, there was supercharged, of course, single engine tractors back in the Wayne Pageant days, which is 73, 74. Wayne Pageant actually was responsible for nitro methane being outlawed because he lifted a blower at Indy Super Pull, very first Indy Super Pull, and very spectacularly, by the way. And
I imagine so.
a young Larry Richwine was there, a third this size. Thank you.
Who is this young Larry Richwine you speak of? I'm unfamiliar. I don't know this young Larry Richwine.
Well, I have pictures on the wall behind me, but I won't get them off. But Wayne Pageant was one of the first and the most highest mix of nitromethane, and that's why that was outlawed.
How much do you think he was running?
Oh, knowing him, probably 10-15%. I mean, It was a big
more
ball of fire,
more than spiking, more than just spiking regular alcohol or race fuel.
Yeah, it wasn't nowhere near what the cars, of course, run at the drag strip, but for that time of year or that time of era, yeah, it was pretty good. What's the question? Are turbines maxed out in your opinion in pulling Larry? Well, I don't know if they're maxed out or not. I mean, the Walshes are making them work really good. The turbine's a whole different kind of power. The torque on a turbine's the same at idle as it is wide open, where a supercharged or natural aspirated engine, the torque curve is altogether different with RPM and horsepower. So, but the torque is constant, and Walshes seem to be some of the best at figuring that out. And Bargees are doing a real good job at a regional level with the turbines, but like Gardner Stone's tractor today, even though it's a good old tractor, that chassis had so many passes, it'll never hook again, just for the simple fact that it can't handle it. But it takes the right kind of, just like anything else, the right setup. But Walshes are making them work pretty well, yeah. But as far as horsepower, I mean, NTPA has a limit on what they allow horsepower-wise with turbines and a list of turbine engines to do that. But there's a couple tractors out there that were built and never really got run, but with bigger engines, but they're not on the list of engines that are allowed.
Hey, while
How
there's
big were those?
Do what?
How big were those? The ones that never really ran?
There's about 12,000 horse apiece. There's a twin engine tractor that got built and was tested, but never really hooked to a sled. The most powerful turbine tractor right now, twin wise, is Walsh's that LD built.
Yep.
Or LD said, well, dang it, I didn't want to fool with it, and Walsh seemed to want to mess with it anyway. But that tractor has the two largest engines we currently allow. And then other than that, if they were to allow more horsepower in the mod class, where Walshes could compete, right now they over horsepower what is allowed in the mod class. They can only run unlimited with NTPA. But if they'd allow it, they'd be very competitive with a Brett Berg or Tommy Owens or somebody like that.
So approximately how much power are those two turbines making?
Well, combined, about 12,000 horse.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, we allow them to run at 110%, and those engines are both rated like 47, 4,800. The one's newer than the other one, so I think it's like 5,500. But, I mean, if you go back, well, like the Bob Soyason's grandson's running one in Ohio. It's got 4 of them on there, and they're T53 Lycomings. But back when I had a T53 Lycoming in '81 on a tractor, it was an L1 series. It was still a T53, and then they made an L3 and an L5 and an L7 and an L11. And Don Dean's got an L13 on one side and an L11 on the other side, and then he's got a General Electric T64 in the middle. But the engine physically weighs the same from an L1 to an L13 or now 15s they're using, but horsepower about 60% more from a L1 to a L13.
Oh, so there's a pretty massive power swing there then.
Oh yeah, well what it is, they changed the compressor, added another stage of compression, but the engine physically weighs the same as an old L1. And the beauty of a turbine is they'll never quit running unless they actually throw a wheel out of them. I mean, you give me fresh batteries and fuel, and it can set 20 years, and we can light a turbine. That's the beauty of a jet engine.
Larry, your next question. Did Banter Brothers have a twin front and back blown mod in '74?
Twin front and back?
That's what Morgan wants to know. Morgan Schulte.
Well, they did have a twin in '74, but I don't think it was front and back. When they put the engine behind the driver, that was only a single engine behind the driver, and that's when they were like 5 engines. And that would have been like 78 or 9. One of the best tractors that Banner ever built at hook was Banner Brown, a triple stair step. That old devil would hook when nothing else would hook to the track. You get that son of a gun to come out there, and he'd put 50 feet minimum with Bill Nolan driving it over anybody else down the track. And that stair step tractor, it just would hook, the old brown one.
Where did that end up?
It went east. Oh, huh? I can't think of the team's name. They still pull mods out there. Oh, I can't think of it. My brain's going to mush. But then we knew that.
Wonder how many banner chassis are still out there.
Oh, a bunch. I bet you a bunch at a state, regional, and brush level. I bet there's a bunch of them out there.
Is it Ferry Brothers?
When I went from, yes, Ferry Brothers, yes. That's where.
Yeah, Matt Durbin. There's a whole bunch of Ferry Brothers. Eric Pruitt.
Yep.
Matt Durbin.
Yep.
Andy Gerbaugh. Okay, so Tyler Slaw saying, if the rules were completely opened up for turbines, would they be competitive, Larry?
They could be, but once again, it's like a 4-wheel drive truck. You either got it right or you don't, and it's all in chassis setup. As far as having the power to turn the tires any speed, but I think we finally, that's why the 6-engine varieties got knocked back to 5. We finally overpowered what the weight class and the tires could hook to the ground. I mean, if they were opened up, I still don't think that it would take the right guy and the right side setup to make them run competitively. But yeah, it's the turbines, like I say, the torque curve is completely opposite of what it is on a reciprocating engine.
Okay.
Did Adam Wilson accept that yet? Because he can't use the excuse he's at work now. So
he has not seen it. He has not seen the message. I don't know if his internet sucks or not. So he's commenting.
Yeah.
Let's see. What happened to the Green Monster? Russ Canuven, who's watching on YouTube, has that question. What happened to the Green Monster?
Well, Dave Snyder bought it, and turned it into the Legend.
Yep.
And Dave Snyder still owns it and the Space Invader tractor that he built. When my son Robert come home from the Air Force, I called Dave Snyder and tried to buy the Legend because Art was a dear friend, and he would always call Robert, my son, that little red-headed kid, because he was so tickled when we built him a jet-powered Cub Cadet. And so I tried to buy the Legend for that little red-headed kid in Art's honor, and Bob wanted to have it. But Dave Snyder, they're still setting, both of them are still setting in the semi-trailer from the last time they ran it, the Space Invader and the Legend. I guess they did unload the Gator finally, but he unhooked from the trailer and it's setting there. And I called him and he said, you got to buy it all, trailer and everything in it, or I won't sell it.
Did he give a price?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And at the time it wasn't that bad, but he wanted to sell it all or not at all. So I didn't buy it. But it was worth the money if a guy wanted to own 2 turbine tractors, but I didn't need 2 turbine tractors. I wanted one, and half of it was sentimental value.
Yep.
Was the Space Invader also a mod frame, or was that the one that had John Deere 8400 sheet metal on it?
No, it was a mod chassis. It was a truck variant.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever happened to that, speaking of Dave, whatever happened to that John Deere 8400 sheet metal turbine? Remember that one?
I have. Oh, that was, what's his name in Ohio? I actually had a rotary engine for a pony motor that started it. Oh, I want to say Krause. Is that right?
I don't know. When I saw it,
Andy Gerbach would know.
Well, when I saw it, it was at Hudsonville, Michigan, and Tom Hartzell announced that it was Dave's and that it had like a Kawasaki like crotch rocket motor to fire it.
Well, I think Dave did originally build it, but he didn't have it very long and he sold it. Rick Krause. Yes, it was Krause. Thank you, Jeremy. But he put a Mazda rotary engine on it. That was the pony motor. But
that would actually make some sense.
Dave did initially build it. You're right. Krause still got it sitting in the barn, Andy says. Between Andy and Jeremy, they know this stuff. There are Ohio authorities on where stuff is. But Krause's tractor just got outdated as far as horsepower-wise, the class they would let it run. But no, Space Invader and the Legend sitting in a trailer right there in Michigan, and he won't sell it. Well, he wants to sell it all. So,
isn't he in West Michigan, like fairly near Bruce and Tyler?
Yeah, I think
Zealand or somewhere?
Is it Hudsonville? I think it's Hudsonville, isn't it? That area?
Well, I'm sure it's that area.
Well, he didn't live too far from the Borelsons because when he quit pulling, he was running an excavator contracted to Borelsons cleaning fence rows before Borelsons got in all the financial trouble.
Oh.
He was working for like 6 months cleaning fence rows and making fields bigger and stuff. Right up the road from Zealand. Yep. Tyler would know that. Where you got to make a Michigan U-turn to go the other direction. You can't turn left.
Not a Michigan U-turn. It's a Michigan left.
Whatever. It's a U-turn, damn it.
It is.
They even have special lanes built.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that are parked in that area of West Michigan in haulers that haven't moved in 25 years.
You are correct. Yeah.
There's
a lot of things in barns
area.
All across the country. It's amazing what's parked
a month
in barns.
ago or two, and I had half a mind to go and find one of those haulers just to go and look at it.
Yeah,
I'm sure I was within about 5 minutes of it, but I didn't have. I was running a little bit late.
Right.
I was
but according to Chelsea, I seen Chelsea at Bowling Green, Dave's younger daughter, and she said that they did finally unload the gator, but until a year or so ago, everything, lock, stock, and barrel, still in that semi-trailer, and still is, other than they finally unloaded the gator.
That would be an interesting question, Larry. You want to weigh in on that?
Where's the screaming demon? I have no idea where it's at. I really don't. Sorry. Any ideas, guys?
I'm told it's in either Iowa or Missouri, but I've been told that for a couple of years, and that it's a father and son that bought it, and they have intentions on bringing it back out and running outlaw diesel superclass with it. But they have not made much progress in said endeavors.
Looks like Jerry said they should let Unlimiteds run nitro at 10%. Fun fact, nobody knows, about 15 years ago, I suggested, back when I was still on the WPI board, that we have a nitro, 10% nitro two-wheel drive class and only allow like 6 or 8 of them and have a cackle fest, just like they do at the drag strip. LD said he'd build one. If it needed to be built, he'd build 2. And, of course, LD always did like a two-wheel drive class. But if we had a class, or NTPA had a class of nitro, 10% nitro two-wheel drives, and at night, the fire coming out of the pipes and stuff, wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, but I suggested that, and it got a little bit of support, but there was 4 or 5 guys that said they would build one if we allowed it, but it never came to fruition.
Tyler, why did I know that you would come in with that comment almost immediately?
Yeah, I like that comment. I will second that one.
In other news, water is wet.
And as long as Tyler and his dad's feet are next to the side of the block, no. It don't need to be nitro. But I mean, we've already got so much power now. We can't hook them to the ground. They're doing cartwheels and barrel rolls. And did you see that NASCAR wreck the other day? My God, that was bad.
Yeah, that looked nasty.
Oh, but it came a long way from when Dale hit the wall. Of course, when Dale hit the wall, he didn't even have his harness hooked up. Nobody knew that. But when they didn't take him out of there in a helicopter, they took him out in an ambulance. I told my son Robert, and we happened to be watching that day, that man's already dead, or they would have took him out in a helicopter.
Yep. I was watching
Even
that.
though the
I
Daytona
remember
Hospital was
watching
right
that
down the
day
street.
too.
Yep. I mean, I'm not a big NASCAR fan, but we happened to be watching it, Robert and I. And when he hit that wall and they took all that time, yeah, I said he's already gone. So
I had
somebody
a buddy
asked
at
the
work
question,
who
why
was
don't
working
Illinois
for NASCAR at that race, and the stories he could tell, he still remembers it very vividly.
Well, and just a few laps before he hit the wall, he was leaning out the window, flipping somebody off. I mean, you know.
Well, that's what you do when you do it to Dale.
Yeah. But until about 10 years ago, most of those rules, when it come to safety, actually we have an official, now he's an advisor in North Carolina, Henry McPherson, that used to be a NASCAR official. And he showed me a NASCAR rule book when I first took the job of safety director in '93. And there was a lot of recommendations, very little requirements. And I mean, they still had cigarette lighters in the damn NASCARs 10 years ago. I mean, you know, and it wasn't to plug their phone in. I mean, you know, they drive around the track with a cigarette and just driving the heck. Yeah. Angry Farmer Nitro Truck is pretty cool to just listen to. That's true. That's true. Once again, a cackle fest.
Yeah, that would be, I'm not going to lie, that
Jason
would
go?
be pretty cool in a two-wheel drive. You know, just
Oh,
bring
yeah.
6 or 8 of them out on the track and
Yeah. It'd be awesome. It really, really would.
Now, would that be,
Yeah.
would that fuel even at 10%, would that be stable enough to make competitive passes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That
Would it?
if it's tuned right, yeah, they could actually make them live and do it. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't tune it Ken Vini style, but just like Ken Vini at Bowling Green didn't come back the second day because he said, we no longer work on them in the dirt. I mean, he still has a drag race maintenance program where after every run, if they've got time, they take the engine down to bare block and rebuild it. I mean, that's just Ken Vini's maintenance program that he's had all his life. But
Right.
he didn't come back the second session at Bowling Green because he said, we don't work on it in the dirt.
And after the career he's had, I'll allow that pretty easily.
Yes, that
Ken
man's
wants to,
done
if
more
Ken
than
wants to go and make a killer pass on Friday night and then just be content to he and Rona just sit and watch. Are you going to argue with him? I'm not.
No. That's like
I might
Esden
argue with
Lane.
whoever
Nobody's
gets to sit
ever
next to him.
Esden Lane. You've never seen Esden Lane work on the tractor out of the trailer. Esden would roll it back in the trailer and either shut the doors or limit how much the door was open to work on his tractor. He never worked on it outside in front of everybody. He might allow a couple people to come in and help him, but he worked on it in the trailer because it wasn't top secret, but he didn't need to share everything.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asked the question, has anyone tried dual distributors on a blower motor like they do in direct? Yes. In fact, we actually, for a while, two-wheel drives had 2 distributors and 2 spark plugs per cylinder. And it wasn't until some of the regional guys was complaining when a Grand National guy would drop down and want to run with them, they would make him unhook one of the distributors and disable one of the spark plugs. And so they after a year or 2 of that, they eventually just limited to 1 spark plug per cylinder. But yes, two-wheel drives especially has had 2 spark plugs and 2 distributors per cylinder. Yeah. That's a good question.
Mark's a two-wheeler guy from out our way.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, there were several of them at Grand National level had 2 spark plugs per cylinder, but whenever they come to a regional level, and it's not really a performance thing as much as it is a dependability thing, which dependability turns into performance. But on methanol, one good spark plug does just the same thing. Tyler, I'm not sure about that. I don't think so. I think it's 1 spark plug per cylinder. I'm not going to argue with you. You got the hair, man. I don't. If Tyler was a few years older and I was a few years younger, Tyler and I could hang out. I guarantee you.
Oh, I think Tyler can hang out with pretty much anybody.
Tyler's a good kid. Yeah.
100% agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen him run from the authorities at Toma because they wanted to know what he was doing. I've never seen that when he was young, but under the drinking age.
No, that's
Jason, somebody, Dave Rogers wanted to know if I'm going to drag you to Sandwich. You're not going to Sandwich, are you? Jason's muted. God, there is a God.
I'm going to Lumberton, North Carolina that weekend.
Yep. And did you say the full pull trailer is going to go to Sandwich, you think?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm announcing it too, so I'll have to be like you were somewhere at the Outlaw event. I think was it Rock Valley or wherever it was that you had to cut out early and go announce?
Yeah. I don't remember.
You know what, Esden, yes, there's a couple super stocks that do run 2 spark plugs. They still do. In fact, one of them, George Everett, that runs at a state and regional level, I don't think he's got 2 on now because he's pulling in the light limited super stock class. But when he was pulling light super, yes, he had 2 plugs in a Indy cylinder head on his John Deere.
Larry, what do you think that was the most competitive time period in history for tractor pulling and truck and tractor pulling as a general sport? Is it the day we're living in now, or is it the late 70s, the early 80s, the mid 90s? What do you think?
I'd say the early to mid 80s when everybody was pioneering the swing set chassis or the wedge chassis. I think that was a pretty competitive time. But honestly, as far as horsepower to the ground and what we're pulling and the speed we're pulling, I'd say today's age is the top. I mean, as far as pounds per square inch getting to the ground and horsepower actually hooking up, I think today's, like anything else, it's evolution, but I think it's evolved into, well, like I said, we've actually developed too much power to hook to the ground. That's why people don't have 6 engines. They got 5 engines or 4 engines. Make the power to hook it up.
You ever think
Jason,
that we could see that, we could get back to that where somebody, we strengthen driveline or we strengthen hard parts enough to get the power to the ground where somebody gets ballsy and bolts on a 6th motor again?
Well, the limiting factor to get power to the ground is the weight class. And that's why we no longer have a 9 and a 10 or a 12,000 pound mod class or unlimited class. The weight, not only a limiting factor on engines, but also how much can get to the ground. I mean, back when I had 2 Rodaks, I pulled 5, 7, 9 mod. And in the state of Indiana, I was very competitive in the 5 and 7, but I think I pulled 9 mod 2 different seasons, and I think I only lost 2 events with a John Deere log skidder rear end and 2 Rodaks in front of it in the 9 mod. Every other time, that tractor just loved the 9 mod, and it would hook and go. I mean, it was the most fun ride. in my mind, I was riding the same as Banner's Brown Triple, and probably that's the way it felt hooked up. I mean, you could just feel it in your seat, hook and go. I mean, it was awesome passes in the 9 mod. But the limiting factor is the weight, and of course today's tires are. We were dealing with lugs, 3/4 of an inch tall back then in the 80s, but now they're 1/4 inch tall now. But the limiting factor is the weight.
You've seen over the years, like chassis, went from a rigid chassis to some flex in them. Do you think we've seen about as much flex in a chassis and going back to more of a rigid frame on some of those, or?
Boy, I don't know. I mean, you talk to Tim Engler and the guys that are building chassis, Ace Chassis or Bob Barbie, those guys. I mean, the materials they're using, the chrome Maui, but today's technology on chassis, like in the sprint car world or every other racing world, has evolved so much. I don't think there's a limit to anything. I think given the way we're building them now and the materials that we have available, they may be limited, but I mean, there's always, as soon as you think you've won the rat race, along comes faster rats, But there'll be somebody try something new and it'll work, and then everybody else will build it. But I don't know that to me, when Tim Engler, I still call him Timmy. Him and I grew up together. He's a year or two older than me, and we grew up pulling against each other. But when he started building the tube chassis and making them work, everybody with a wedge chassis, which was a Banner style chassis at the time, they had to step their game up. They had to make a lot more flex in them so they could move. I mean, when I had a single Rodak out on the front of a wedge chassis that Ralph Banner actually had bent up for me, I built the chassis, but I built it to his prescription. I come off the track one time and the engine's leaning hard to the right because I had twisted it so much. I actually welded a strut from the bottom of the frame to the front axle and to limit how much it could bend. And then, of course, I picked the front wheel up one side more than the other. But it's like anything else, there's a limit to everything.
So my second part of the question is, I see a lot of the smaller engine or side by sides, dirt bikes and stuff like that. They're cryo heating their internal parts, and I don't know if anybody's doing that to this level yet. But I'm curious. I mean, you're talking dissipation of heat, harder parts type of thing. You think any of that's going to come in the next few years?
Well, it's got to have an effect on it, and people will try it. So many things bleed from one kind of motorsports into the other. Tyler, I see that. You're right. See, I didn't write the 2023 one, but that wording's the same as in 2022 and 2021, Tyler. You are correct. But the two-wheel drive was the one that they whined about it at a regional level. I shouldn't have said whined. That didn't sound good. But that's where they first tried it. But Two Spark Plug was at the two-wheel drive class. But Tyler's on his game. But Tyler, you'll never get 10% nitro and be legal, okay? But if you do run it, I want to watch, okay? Because I'm not in charge of that anymore. I mean, I'll help you mix it.
Well, I'll watch. I'm just going to watch from the other side of the track.
No, they won't blow parts. If it does, Tyler and Bruce's feet will be the first one to know it when that rod comes out the side.
Well, yeah, it's not the parts that I'm worried about. It's catching Tyler's frickin' foot.
I'm surprised they haven't passed rules yet that says that no body part can be in line with the engine, the side of the engine or anything. I'm honestly surprised they haven't made that rule. But hey, I had rules written when they retired me. I had rules written for the next 2 or 3 years. That wasn't one of them, Tyler, but it needed to be. But I had rules written in my brain that I'll probably never share until somebody gets hurt. That's hell to say, but what do you do? Anyway, I had a very good run, guys. Very good run. I see you're playing the video of what's his name, Nitro Kenny? Yeah. Oh, well.
I'm trying to mute myself to figure out what's going on with the sound.
Well, if you get that figured out, there's a bunch of them. A lot of people would like to know how to make that mute work in person as well as online. Not for you, but for others. And do you know, coming up next week is the first time you heard me announce when you were driving home from somewhere, and you said that I got away with stuff that nobody else did. Oh, well. I had a good time at the Mech Center this past weekend. I went up there for Travis Hostetter, that does the dirt work for the Mech. And the dirt that was the dirt they use inside, both for the Gordyville pull, I still call it Gordyville, and the NTPA pull, they hauled that dirt outside and put it on a parking lot. And Travis built one heck of a track. My God, it was a good track. Had a good show. And I went up there and announced that one for him. And Travis said, I didn't know you announced. I said, well, join the club. Neither did Jason. And I don't announce. I just talk. I try to share my knowledge, what little I have, with the people in the stands and explain and talk to them on their level. So.
Speaking of last weekend, half century of progress, that there was a lot of 60-30s out there plowing, and there was a whole posse of people in side-by-sides and golf carts, I feel like, that were about getting run over every time somebody went by.
Oh, yeah. They do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody asked what pulling organization put the pull on in Naples, Florida way back. It was the NTPA. Because I was down there. Yep. In fact, that was where I debuted the Coreplast track markers. When I got the job, they were still built out of 1/4-inch plywood that took a pickup truck to haul them to the track. And I built the fold-up track markers that everybody's copied now. And very first event we used them was in Naples. We actually pulled right through the Sippy hole where they do their swamp buggy races. And Rich Lustig, that's how long ago it was. Jordan wasn't old enough to drive yet. Rich Lustig drove right over one of them. He goes, I'm sorry I messed up your new marker. I said, no big deal. I said, that's what they're made for. And I unfolded it back up and bent the rod straight, put it back in the ground. He goes, that's pretty cool. I said, well, if it had been a plywood, when you would have had plywood in your oil pan and it would have been shattered. But yeah, that's where I debuted that new style track marker. Yeah. When ATPA was around, Mike Chastain called me. He goes, hey, where do you get those? I'd like to order some of those for ATPA. And I said, well, they're made at a little one-man shop in Brownsburg, Indiana. And I doubt if the guy will build them for you. It was me. I said, but they're 32 inches tall, 11 inches at the top square, and 22 at the bottom, and you can copy them. Oh, okay. Thanks, Larry. But, I mean, a lot of little things nobody knows about who builds what or where they get stuff. What do I remember about kenneled? I don't know that I remember anything about it, Russell. I'm sorry. You guys know anything about that?
I will say, though, that's a very old lean meat machine. Wow.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Larry Smith.
Yeah.
Larry Smith, yeah. I seen Larry a couple years ago somewhere. He's doing pretty good. Put a seat on top of the engine? No. No, Jeremy wants to know if Dolly Parton will be at Sandwich. I have it on good authority. She's not coming this year to Sandwich. That joke is over 40 years old, and I'm still surprised people request it. And by today's standard, it's mildly offensive, but it depends on who you talk. Yep, Florida State Park. I wonder how many of your viewers remember when we did Toma live that night on TNN. That was a challenge because they say they come back from commercial in 45, 60 seconds, whatever. And I had to fire a tractor and have him coming on the track when they came back from commercial. We did it, but it was a challenge. You talk about some wild radio communications. Yeah.
There's a good question on the screen right now.
Well, we do allow overhead cams at a Grand National level. NTPA does. But I don't know what he's talking about, what classes or anything. Foreplay, that's still a metal body, I think.
Yep.
Army Armstrong. He's not well. If he's still alive, he's been pretty sick. I do know. I talked to him probably 2 years ago. He lives in the Owensboro area. He's a fine man. Yep. Army's a good guy. Jason, you're looking awful intently at whatever you're looking at. Oh, yeah, we won't. Yeah, we'll just thumbs up. Yeah. Is that video of the sippy hole? Is that Naples?
Yeah, it's Florida Motorsports Park.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Yep. One of my best memories of that event, somebody had a little dog, little foo-foo dog, like you'd stick a stick up its butt and dust your ceiling fan with. Anyway, they were out there and they go, boy, I hope the dog don't run in the swamp. And whoever it was, local guy said, oh, don't worry. The gators will get him if you turn him out at night. He won't come back from going to pee. The gators will get him out of the swamp. And whoever that was says, well, he's not going out to pee after dark. Yeah.
You still have that dog, Larry?
No. That dog's name was Oliver. Everything I got now is either German. Well, they're all German Shepherds except one. And it's a Belgian Malinois. And his name is Wreck, like I'm going to wreck my car. And he's bucking real hard to come to an event with me. But every time I think he's learned how to stay on the golf cart and ride, he jumps off. So, but got a couple German Shepherds that we really like to come to the poll too, and a couple of them that would be very very good. Who's that guy? Oh my God, that's 2/3 the size I am now. Wow. I actually had somebody a couple years ago say, "Did you ever flag or pull?" I went, "Yeah." Oh well.
What sled was this?
That's Jimmy Lukey's.
Okay.
Lukey's sled. Yeah. Yeah. Big Copenhagen school days. Oh well. Look at the things we've lived through. $19.95.
That really doesn't feel that long ago.
It don't seem like it's that long ago. Why not overhead cams and aircraft motors? Well, in the unlimited mod class, they could if they wanted to. In the unlimited mod class, anything goes. Carter's is asking about why Jeff Hurt right there. He's over there with the Control Chaos tractor, right?
Yep.
It went to Europe. Why did NTPA stop going to Inwood? Well, you want the politically correct answer or the real answer?
The real answer.
Well, the guy that ran it has since passed away, and he was the pass puller. But to my knowledge, NTPA finally wrote off the debt that he owed for the last one we did there. In fact, I know they wrote it off. WPI did. But the biggest reason we don't go to Canada right now is because we don't have trouble getting into Canada, but we have trouble getting home. with the vehicles and stuff. And, Lindsay said Control Chaos is in the garage at home, but isn't one of them that got sold to Europe? Lindsay would know.
She would.
Well, if I'm wrong, Lindsay, I apologize. She would know.
Larry, what year would that Toma TNN stuff have been?
I don't know. I still have a TNN banner somewhere in my shop that was taken off the wall. They did TNN live at Toma, brought in like $100,000 worth of lights they rented for like 25 grand for the weekend to have extra lighting for the live television shows. But it had to be early 90s, mid 90s at the latest. But somebody should know that's watching. But they did a live TNN show from Toma. And I have to admit that was my most challenging event as far as timing on. They'd say, we'd be back from commercial in 2 minutes and 60 seconds and boom. But we did it, and they were pleased with what we did. But they brought in all kinds of equipment extra so we could be live. TNN 1998, Brian Daly says. That's probably about right, Brian. And yes, it was the same year. You're right, Colin. Because 98's when Randy Rose rolled over. Because I'm one of the 8 or 10 that rolled it off of him. I could have swore he was gone, but he said, "Get me out of here." But he was blue. Had a lap belt on, the seat folded over. He was blue. It was. I don't care to relive that one.
I still remember the look on, I think, was it Judy Knipstein's face when they were interviewing her?
I think it was Rodland Knox.
Yes, that. You're right. That's who it was.
Rodland Knox was facing where the accident was. She was on the right track, and whoever was interviewing her was facing her, and she was facing that. And you can see her go when it rolled.
Yeah, her face goes ashen white.
Yep. I mean, it was Rodland being interviewed at the time. Yep. And luckily, they didn't pan over there and show it on the television show. Something that they did leave in the RFD tape is when I pulled Arlene Archer out from behind Dave's tractor. She was between.
I remember that.
And she was between the buckboard and the tire, and they left that on the television show. And I asked, "My God, why would you leave that in there?" They said, "Well, it's pretty spectacular." I said, "Yeah, but that makes us look unsafe." But I always, when I got him pulled up, motion for him to come forward, tighten the chain, I always looked over my shoulder to make sure the chain was straight as I walked towards the back of the sled. And I looked over my shoulder, and she was in there. And before that, I was hurting. My back and everything was hurting, but I reached over and grabbed her and yanked her out of there and almost made her mad. I yanked her out of there, but his engine was going up. And he was crawling up, the green light on the sled, and nobody but me seen her there at first. But oh my God. I got on the gator and drove back over to the entry trailer, and Kathy Petro come over. She goes, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Well, I can't get off of here for a while because my knees are shaking." But you talk about pumped. Oh my God, I was pumped.
I remember that. I remember that broadcast.
Oh, yeah.
That is our current points leader, the Top Gun, Kurt Meisenheimer. This event is number 27, number 28 on our polling season. They have won 14 of the 28 events. I believe he is going to be taking the lead here tonight. We are live right now on Beer Money on the Let's Grill Polling Monday night show. We hopped in and hijacked him here real quick.
That Beer Money guy gets around, don't he?
Sure does. Wow. Well, and there was your teaser for the night, folks. Glad you enjoyed it. Got to hear a little bit of Allison Love.
We enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of
Larry,
spoiled.
what's the biggest cubic inch single installation you've ever seen on a pulling tractor? Would it be like a Griffin, or they were bigger? I think they were bigger, weren't there?
Griffins were bigger than Allison's. Allison's were 1710, but
Griffins are 2240.
Yeah, that'd be a Bollinger question. They would know. I honestly don't know. As far as a V8, like 950, naturally aspirated, some four-wheel drives are running 900 cube motors. Not with us, but other organizations.
Oh, good. The spammers have arrived. Now it's a party.
Yeah.
Mark, you have a fan. Her name is Jeff.
Yeah, her name her name is Jeff, but she's got Susie Plumbing, I bet, or wants to have.
Oh, I love it.
But I guarantee you, she drinks Bud Light.
What size is the Packer?
I don't know off the top of my head. That's another Google question. Dang it!
Is that Darren Roach's tractor?
I was just going to say Ella. Yeah, I don't remember what that thing cranks out though.
Mike Steffen, what was double ugly engine cubes, Larry?
It was 2 1710s. EJ bought a bunch of those engines, semi-load of them out west, and he had bought a whole lot of them and couldn't get them all in the semi-trailer, so he wound up uncrating them and throwing them on. I mean, they were all in Cosmoline. I've seen them all in a building once. And in that lot of Allisons he bought, there were 2 W engines. And the first W that he put in, the double ugly, I mean, they're side by side like a V, only they're V12 and V12. And there were 2 engines of it that were W's, and one of them was in the museum up here in Indianapolis, Allison Engine Museum, up here on 10th Street, right not too far from me, just real close to the Indy 500 track. And he blew up the first one, and he called Allison's and said, "I need to switch the engines." And so he brought down the blowed up one. You couldn't tell it was blowed up. It was just static display anyway. So he switched it for the other one and went back and run it for quite a while until he quit running and started running stair step instead of W's. But yeah, the W engine was kind of an experimental model, twin Allisons, but they're 1710 stock each. My father-in-law actually worked on them in Alaska in the Army Air Corps, World War II. I first married Linda 45 years ago. God, she lost a bet a long time ago. Anyway, he discovered what I did, and he went, "That's dangerous." And I went, "Yeah, but your daughter will have life insurance if I get killed." Anyway, but yeah. And then when I went to the gas turbine, he calculated how fast the blades would be coming out the intake, heading for me if it ever surged and reversed, which they hardly ever do. But I said, "Well, I won't have time to worry about it, will I?" He went, "Oh, no." He was in Allison engine test later at Allison turbine test, but he was actually on the V12. In fact, he gave me overhaul manuals and operation manuals that thick. He went to the library and printed them off at Allison's for the 1710 V12s. He was quite a man. He was a very smart man.
Was Dusty Rhodes there in Toma for TNN?
I see that, and honestly, Jeremy, I don't know if he was or not. Maybe somebody else does. I was so preoccupied with trying to come back from commercial and have a tractor idling onto the track ready to hook. It was still a 2-track event, but we come back from commercial, they wanted to go boom, boom, like, should be for live TV. So I honestly don't remember who announced it.
Whatever came of your turbine mini rod, Larry? Mike Steffen wants to know.
Sold the engine back to Don Dean, and Randy Petro actually bought the chassis. It was a Boltman TRB chassis, and Randy Petro bought it and put an engine on it. He called it a engine stand, and he ran it for a while, mini rod, wadded it all up at New Hampton, Iowa. Had a heck of a ride and just twisted the heck out of the chassis at New Hampton. But the engine came from Don Dean, and I sold it back to Don when Bob went into the Air Force. Yep. Yeah, this is one of the scariest days of my life. And the seat had like a 6-inch back on it, and it actually bent over and pinned him in there. He had a seatbelt on. The drawbar was 4 or 6 bolts into the bottom cast iron, what it was pulling off of, and it just ripped them out of there. About the second bounce, it just ripped those bolts out of there, and of course it launched it. Even though the kill switch did work, that's just launch, and he's a passenger. That's a very scary evening for me. But I hope that, and of course roll cages stops that. That was 98, and we put the cage in place in 99. It was to be on mandatory, inspected by 2000. We recommended it get put on and inspected in 99, but if they didn't have it inspected and installed in January of 2000, they weren't allowed to hook. And LD Nation drove all the way to Galax, Virginia, went right by my exit on I-70. He could have come 20 miles north, and I could have done it. He drove all the way to Galax, and they wouldn't let him pull. He didn't have a sticker. And, of course, they called me, and they called Dave Schreier, and both of us said, no, we can't risk it. And so LD called me and goes, you mean to tell me I drove clear to Galax, Virginia, and I can't pull? I went, yeah. I said, you mean to tell me you drove right past my exit and didn't stop and get it done? Well, god dang, I thought I could pull. I says, well, you're wrong, LD. God, he never forgive me for that. But, yeah, that's a very scary. Yeah. And then when the roll cages come out, they build them like that to seat a family of 3. And they flop around in there so bad, but it needs to be like an NHRA cage where they are really in there tight. That actually was in 99, and that guy used to trailer with Randy Rose to the events. That happened while we were in St. Ives in Quebec, and Dave came back from the hotel, and he goes, well, our cage worked. We saved a life today. And I said, really? But it dug in the ground, but nothing moved. But that cage spec hasn't changed since it initially came out in 99. And I can't think of that guy's name that tested it, but he used to haul on the same trailer with Randy Rose.
Right? Is that
Roger Peterson?
Yep, exactly, yep. But yeah, it dug in the ground. Yep. And we carry him off by the cage. I mean, I try not have him use a log chain, but you throw a strap through that cage, I don't care if it's a 10,000-pound Pro Stock tractor, you can pick it up with that cage and carry it off. It's on that tractor so secure, throw a strap through it, take a payloader or a telehandler, pick it up and carry it off. Done it many times. Yep.
Larry, why did it take, and I'm not trying to poke my finger in anybody's chest here, but why did it take so damn long for us to get it through our heads that cages were necessary? Like, I think back to, and if Charles were on the show tonight, he did a deep dive video on some of the things that led to that. And the Gillans, you were probably there when Bob or Todd, it was probably Todd, got thrown from Suspicion 2.
Right.
Why did it take so long after that?
Well, humans don't like change, and if tractor pullers will spend $10,000 on a new injection pump that Hypermax says will work, but they don't want to spend $2 or $3 grand to save their life. And I actually built a cage and had it like a hand truck on wheels and went to different state organizations and showed them. I mean, it's not that restrictive. And I had a seat in it and a harness in it, and I'd rolled in a room and explained this in 98 and 99. And, well, several states left the union of NTPA over the fact that we were going to require a cage. My God, you're not going to make me put a cage on. And of course, my answer was, well, tell your wife and your children that you don't want to live then. But no, there was several states, and I won't name them because most of them have come back to NTPA, but there's still 2 or 3 that haven't. But they left over the simple fact that we were going to require cages and have it inspected, or they weren't going to be allowed to hook. And it's just a dang shame. But like I say, they'll not only buy a $10,000 injection pump, and that's a long time ago, but they'll put it on, make one pass, and it'll break, and then they'll get the old pump out of the semi, put it back on, and keep running while he pays Hypermax or somebody to build it again. And I mean, Jason knows he's about to learn all that when he goes from what he had to his new whoop-ass doodah super stock extraordinaire. But anyway, you can quote me on that, Jason. It's a whoop-ass doodah tractor. But no, serious. Am I wrong? I mean, but they'll spend, if they think, and everybody thinks I hate super farms. I don't. But if Ryan Salenbean said, we can make 20 more horse by doing this one little thing, they wouldn't ask what it costs. They'd want to make 20 more horse. But those same people were very reluctant to put on something that was safety. I mean, they're going now to have a certified, approved current bell housing in 24 for NTPA. I don't necessarily agree with all of that. I understand it, but it's the same principle as the cage was. My argument against that is there's not a shelf life on a bell housing unless it's had an explosion in it. I mean, steel, titanium don't go bad bolted to the back of an engine unless it has an explosion in it. But nevertheless, I'm pretty proud of the fact that I'm the guy that they called son of a gun and F you, Larry, and FNTPA. And as they came back one at a time and I inspected the cages, I never said a word. But I have to admit, inside I was going, didn't you say F you a couple years ago? But I'd always shake their hand and say, glad to have you back. I mean, now, if I get to an event and they're running farm stock, supposedly blowing smoke 100 foot in the air, and they don't have cages on, scares the hell out of me, guys. I mean,
the hell out of me.
Scary son of a gun. I mean, but no, the roll cage, when I'm gone and dead, I'd like to be the son of a bitch that made him put a cage on.
We can get that done.
You can arrange that, yeah.
You want it right on your headstone, Larry, or?
No. There's a lot more.
Can we put it in the funeral program?
Well, it can be mentioned in the presentation.
Make the video.
The celebration of life.
That son of a bitch.
For the son of a bitch that made roll cages mandatory.
Yeah, but I would roll it in. I had 2 wheels on it like a hand truck, and I would roll it in, set in it, while people were criticizing it, NTPA, and me. And then I'd say, well, boys, I'm just trying to show you it's not that big a deal.
Yep.
But I don't know.
Was that the main argument against it? Was it makes it too restrictive?
They said they couldn't get out it fast enough, or they'd be pinned in there. I mean, it's technically a driver containment device, a lot like the IndyCar has the capsule that the driver's in.
Yep.
Same principle. And but they already had a fire suit. They'd already put on a full face helmet, and all we did different was enclose them and put a 5-point harness. And to me, and I understand they didn't want to change their tractors. And like, well, our trailer ain't tall enough. Some guys cut a hole in the trailer. There's a couple cages out there that are real short, and but it's very, very, very dangerous without one, and now everybody's starting to realize that. I mean, I see brush clubs that have nothing to do with NTPA or PPL or anybody else, and they've got cages on. I mean, I look at them casually, and some of them aren't maybe braced like they should be, but they'll still work. The cage is so overbuilt when we first did that, SFI flew an engineer from Kissimmee, Florida, is where he lived. He's since passed, and flew him in Indianapolis. And in my shop, right outside this door of the office, we had one of every division. We had a 2-wheel drive, we had a 4-wheel drive, we had a super stock tractor, we had a mini rod, we had a mod tractor, all here in my shop. And this engineer flew into Indy and was going to try to help design this roll cage. And he measured center of gravity and whatever. And then we took the tallest person in the room, which was Doug Theobald, and set him in the tallest seat of any of the vehicles, which was George Everett's super stock, where the seat was about level with the top of the John Deere fenders. Whew, you talk about, and the guy's measuring from the top of Doug's head to the ground, to the center of the axle, trying to figure center of gravity. And oh my God, I'm thinking, why did Doug show? I mean, but it was their 2-wheeler at the time. And make a long story short, the first edition of the cage that he proposed was 4-inch tube. You could have rolled a D8 cat and it would have held it. But Steve Zimmer, which was quite a metallurgist, and he's still very involved with NASOA and stuff. He worked for Dave Archer at the time. And between him and Dale Kwame, which is a engineer that was always Caterpillar equipment, engines and stuff, warranty rep for Ziegler, those two and I sat in a motel room after we'd had all these proposals and came up with what the spec actually stayed and is. But in fact, some of the attachment drawings are still, if you get a copy of it, are still on Ziegler graph paper where Dale drew them up. But I caught a lot of hell over that cage, but I honestly think we've saved a lot of lives because of it.
Absolutely.
And now
Corey from Bowling Green says, "Where is that cart, Larry? We can set you back in it viewing."
Where is the cart?
Yeah.
Yeah, that had the
Back
cage,
in at the viewing.
the hand cart.
Oh, the hand cart cage? It's in my shed.
Good. Make sure you remind people of that.
It's still in my shed, and it's still got wheels on it, and it's still got a seat in it. And actually, before Bob went to the Air Force, him and a bunch of his buddies was out here, probably having adult beverages. I don't know. He wasn't quite 21 yet. And in my shop, and I remember seeing the cage laying on its side the next morning when I come out here to go to work. And I says, "What the hell did you do last night?" And they had him strapped in the cage, spinning him around on the top, and just jacking around, kids having fun on a concrete floor with a roll cage. And they had actually taken the 2 dolly wheels off of it, though. They didn't want it to hurt anybody. But yeah.
All right, guys. I got to leave. I got to catch a flight early. So.
Yep. We'll wrap it up here in a little bit. This has been fun. Thanks, Cody. Have a safe trip to Florida, buddy.
See you guys.
We're going to start calling you Hurricane Alice.
Yeah.
Good.
Stay safe.
What was a bigger controversy, Larry? T-buckets or components?
T-buckets were never much of a controversy for us, for NTPA. They were pretty well accepted. I mean, there was a little scuttle about them. And then, of course, the other group, made it heavier. If it wasn't, if it was a full body truck, they got more weight or whatever. I forget what the weight differential was, a couple 100 pounds. The component tractors, that's a Doug Robert issue when he first built that first one, where he basically just had pieces of cast iron inside of a tube chassis to make it look like he just put a subframe around it. I remember Dennis Goodwin really upset about components when they first came in and fought them out of Iowa there. He was one of them against it, but once again, it's evolution. To contain the power they were building, the cast iron housings, even if they hadn't hogged them out to make them lighter, they would have broken. They wouldn't have taken it.
Well, when did components come into play? Was it like the 2000, 2003, 4, something like that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure somebody.
I mean, even at that point, it's what 30-year-old at the time it was 30-year-old cast
Oh
iron.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you had
That had
4010 housings and 966 housings running. Um, and they were all hogged out, so they could get bigger parts in them, and they were already putting truck ring and pinions down in them and stuff. But Doug Roberts actually is the reason the component tractor with his Barnyard Beast. Yes, you're right, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It showed up at Tome when I went over. Well, the cage came in effect 99, had to be mandatory by 2000. I want to say like 2000 or 2001. You're probably right, Brian. That's when the component really came onto the field. But the component, it's so much easier to work on. I mean, you roll the motor forward and you take the clutch can off of it, and you can work. I don't care what kind of component tractor it is, super or pro stock or whatever. Maintenance, one thing, but durability and strength. I mean, today's chassis, the power they're building wouldn't last 1-2 passes in a cast iron tractor. Put it that way. Even if it wasn't hogged out. And I mean, they always allowed them, like on the Olivers, take that tub out, and build a subframe.
Yeah.
Of course, Connors took the dowel pins out of it, elongated the holes, so the motor could actually twist in the chassis. It had a subframe on the side of it, the tub taken out of it, but they took the dowel pins out, elongated the holes, and the engine was actually torquing in the chassis. And not everybody knew that, but if you looked at it close, it was pretty apparent. But if you watched it go down the track, you knew what it was doing. But yeah, they were some of the first ones to get away with that. So the component is really evolution and safety.
That hand crank, that story would be a prime Make-A-Wish auction item, Larry.
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure it's beat up, scratched up. It would need blasted in a coat of paint. But yeah, I still have it.
Nice.
And it would make a nice Make-A-Wish. Only to somebody like one of us that really knows or wants to know the history of the cage.
Yep. Neat.
Yeah.
Well, I want to wrap.
Buy it, and turn it into a barber's chair for Jamie Lynn to do haircuts after guys like Justin and Esden donate their hair or their beards.
That was awesome.
Or
That
me.
was awesome.
Or yeah.
I'd do it again if I ever get there.
Yeah, heck yeah. I know you would. You're a good dude like that. It's all good. Well, guys, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. Larry, where are we going to see you next?
I'll be in Sandwich, Illinois. I'm announcing Thursday and Saturday. Saturday's 2 sessions. Thursday's 1 session.
Larry, what do they do on Friday?
Friday night, they have entertainment in the infield. They bring in a portable stage, and it's been that way forever. We tried to talk them into years ago having 2 nights in a row. Oh, no. Thursday night is truck night at the Sandwich Fair, and they pull trucks, mostly regionals, and a couple Grand National classes. And then Friday night is the live music entertainment. I mean, they've had like Old Dominion and a couple of the other big name people. I don't even know who's there this year. I'm sure it's a pretty good big name.
Okay.
Bring in portable bleachers, and the whole infield is Festival Center.
Okay.
And Saturday we have a noon show and a 6:30 show. Saturday's a challenge because we'll crown a Grand National Mod champion, Diesel Super champion, I think a Pro Stock champion, all on Saturday. And it's even harder for them guys to win that points title if it's close because they have to run noon and 6:30. They got to make that son of a gun live twice in one day. And it's quite a show. And they put on a really good show.
That's awesome.
But I've been announcing about 20 years. And like I say, if the full pull trailer's there, I'll go over and help over there a little bit. And then I'll have to leave a few minutes early and go do my announcing duty. But it's a great show, the Sandwich Fair. It's independently owned by 5 families, that fair. It's not a county fair. It's the DeKalb County Fair, and they have 4-H people bring in their displays and stuff. But it's actually a privately owned fair.
That's neat. I know they have huge crowds there. That's for sure.
It's unbelievable. So that's where I'll be.
Bruce, where are we going to see you next, sir?
I don't know yet. Halfway decent chance that you'll see me at the Gearhead Nationals in Diagonal, Iowa on Sunday.
Okay. Nice.
So it depends on the weather.
Yep.
Depends if the brisket cooperates or not. Doing a
Cool.
brisket on Saturday.
If there's no wind, you'll be able to hear the top fuelers run at the U.S. Nationals at my house. I'm 8 miles from Raceway Park.
You are? Okay.
Yeah. Ken,
I imagine they'll probably make your kitchen windows rattle, wouldn't they?
No. But the top fuelers, no. Like I say, there has to be no wind because I'm west of the track, but wind's always out of the west. But it's Vini and a bunch of them have parked in my driveway in front of the Linda's Horse Barn. There's several 30-amp breaker outlets just for that purpose. But yeah, we've had some pretty good people, pretty good names. They know they can come park in the driveway or whatever. But I may not be here, but they can go to the track.
Yep.
So.
Interesting.
Larry-
Miles always says, Miles Krieger lives I think he's like 10 or 12 miles from Boyd Performance.
Right.
And he told me once that there were nights in the fall when they were dynoing motors and in the spring where it would rattle his kitchen windows.
Yeah.
At night when they fired the motors and started turning them loose on the dyno.
Well, he works for Steve Boyd, don't he? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh well.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Larry, thank you for all the knowledge tonight. It's so great having you on the show. We appreciate you taking some time to do this with us on Monday nights. So.
Well, I enjoy it, and I am shy, and I want to apologize for that. Right. And
awesome.
I haven't received the ring light that you were going to send me, but I did check with Goodwill today, and they don't have one yet.
I got it right here, Larry.
Well, that's all fine and good. Ryan says I won't care for it once I get it.
It's right here, Larry.
Oh, that's makeup mirror. I don't wear makeup anymore.
Okay.
Ever since that false eyelash incident I had a couple of years ago, I just don't use a makeup light anymore.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
We're not going to talk about that. We agreed never to speak of that incident again.
Ryan, thanks for coming on tonight. Larry, thanks for coming on. Thanks all of you for watching. We appreciate you. We do this every Monday night, 8 o'clock. You can listen to us on iTunes and Spotify as well. Just type in Let's Go Pulling. So I'm going to be in Lumberton, North Carolina, September 8th and 9th. I think it's a Friday, Saturday, and then I'll be at the Enderley the following weekend. So it's going to be fun. So have a good weekend, everybody. Happy Labor Day. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.